Right now, your net worth is $1,100, and you know it to the cent. And that is exactly the problem. 1142, actually. You know it in the shower. You know it in line at Chipotle, where the guac question is a real question. You know it at 2 a.m. when the ceiling asks you about it. People with money think about money sometimes. People without it think about it constantly. A background app that never closes, draining the battery all day, every day, for years. This is the story of turning that app off. It happens somewhere around $75,000, and nobody tells you it's coming, and when it comes, it won't announce itself. So let's walk the whole staircase, because the number isn't the point. What happens to you on each step is. The first $5,000 is the worst money you will ever save. Let's not romanticize it. There is nothing inspiring about this stretch. You're setting aside $300 a month by not doing things, not going, not ordering, not replacing. And after 4 months of genuine sacrifice, you have $1,200, which is roughly the price of one transmission problem. That's the cruelty of the first mile. You're saving against disasters that cost more than everything you've saved. Your buddy's new truck payment is $610 a month. Your entire net worth is 2 truck payments. It feels pointless because, mathematically, it almost is. Almost. Because something happens at $5,000 that has no dollar sign on it. The first disaster arrives. It always arrives. That's what disasters do. And yours is a set of brake pads and rotors, $680. And you pay for it with a debit card. No panic. No payment plan at 29%. No calling your dad with your voice doing the thing. You drive home from the shop with worse net worth and something you have never once possessed in your adult life. A boring emergency. That's what $5,000 buys. It doesn't change your life. It changes your disasters. And it changes your sleep a little before it changes anything else. Not all the way, that comes later, but that first winter with $5,000 in the account, you notice you've stopped doing the pre-sleep audit, the one where you'd lie there and walk the tightrope of the next 2 weeks. Paycheck Friday, phone bill Monday, hope the car holds. The tightrope is still there, but now there's a net under it, a small one, $5,000 of net. And it turns out the body knows the difference between a rope with a net and a rope without one, even when the walk is identical. Between 5 and 15, let's talk about how, because the internet loves to skip this part. There was no side hustle empire, no crypto moonshot. You did 4 things, and they were all boring. You moved your savings rate to the second of the month, automatic, so the decision only had to be made once instead of 300 times. You kept the paid-off car while everyone around you upgraded, which alone was worth over $500 a month. You got 1 raise and banked the entire difference before your lifestyle ever met it. The single highest leverage move available to a normal person, and it costs nothing because you can't miss a life you never started living. And you learned to cook 8 meals, not 30, 8, decently, on repeat. Those 4 moves, running quietly for years, did all of it. Anyone looking for the trick will be disappointed. The trick is that the boring version works, and almost nobody stays boring long enough to find out. The early miles have a social cost too, and pretending otherwise would be lying to you. Year 2, your buddy Chris gets engaged and the bachelor party is in Scottsdale. Flights, hotel split, golf, 2 nights of restaurants where the appetizers are $18. You price the whole weekend at $1,100, which is 4 months of your savings rate, and you say no. You say it over text, which is cowardly, and you dress it up as a scheduling thing, which is worse. Chris says, "All good, man." The group chat goes quiet on you for a while after that weekend, not cruelly, just naturally, the way water flows around a rock. You see the photos, everyone's sunburned and happy, and you sit with the specific loneliness of the early miles, the one nobody puts in the videos, the years where the future costs you the present, and you can't explain it to anyone, and you're not even sure you believe it yourself. You went to the wedding, for the record. You gave a good gift. Chris never held any of it against you. But you learned that the first stretch of this staircase isn't climbed in public. It's climbed alone, at kitchen tables, in the gap between what everyone else is doing and what you've decided to do instead. 15,000 is where your voice changes. Not your speaking voice, your yes voice. For your entire working life, yes has been automatic. Yes to the closing shift. Yes to the schedule change. Yes to covering Sunday. Yes before the question ends, because the question was never really a question when you needed every hour. At 15,000, about 5 months of your life banked, you hear yourself do something in the break room that startles you. Your manager asks if you can stay late Friday, and you say, "I can't Friday, I could do Tuesday." 11 words, no apology in them. He says fine and walks off, because it was always fine, and you stand there by the time clock understanding something enormous. The fear was the leash, and the leash was never attached to anything but your balance. 30,000 is where the math flips upside down, and this is the step nobody warns you about, so listen. Somewhere in this stretch, you'll open your account one morning and see that the market moved your balance by $400 overnight, while you slept. You made, or lost, some mornings, more in your sleep than you made at work that day. The first time it happens, you'll actually laugh out loud, alone in your kitchen, because it's absurd. Every dollar you've ever touched came through your hands, your hours, your back. And now there's a second worker in the household, and it never sleeps, never calls in sick, and its shifts are getting longer every year. This is also, be honest, the dangerous step. 30,000 is the first number big enough to hear the sirens, the truck sirens, the "you've earned it" sirens. Half the people who reach 30,000 convert it into a down payment on something with a monthly payment attached, trading the silence they built for an upgrade everyone can see. It's the single most common exit off this staircase, and it's always described the same way afterward. I was doing really well for a while. There's a moment in this stretch that shows you how much you've already changed, and it happens on a date. Second date, Italian place, and when the check lands you feel nothing. You just pay your half, or all of it, whatever the moment wants, and keep talking. And driving home you realize what was missing, the old ritual. The menu scan right side first ritual. The pretending to decide between entrees while actually deciding between prices ritual. You performed that ritual on every date of your 20s and thought it was invisible. It was never invisible. Money doesn't just sit in an account. It sits in your shoulders, your jaw, the half-second delay before you answer, "Want to split an appetizer?" Somewhere around 30,000, the delay disappeared. She noticed nothing, which was the whole point. Calm is the first luxury, and it's the only one that's invisible. You don't exit. Here's what keeps you on the stairs, and it isn't discipline. It's that the silence has started. You notice it at 50,000, in reverse, on a specific day. Your company announces layoffs on a Tuesday morning conference call, and the office does what offices do. The bathroom break texting, the resume tabs, the hallway math, and you check your own pulse and find nothing. Concern, sure, professional concern, but underneath it, where the cold drop used to live, there's a strange, flat calm, and you do the math on why. $50,000 is 14 months of your entire life, rent, food, gas, everything. The worst thing your employer can do to you is now a sabbatical. You sit in the layoff meeting like an anthropologist. 2 years ago, this meeting would have owned your whole nervous system for a month. The layoff passes you by, but you learn the real lesson of 50,000 walking to your car that evening. Money's first real purchase was never a thing. It was distance. Distance between a bad event and your rib cage. 50,000 is also where the strangest social effect kicks in. You become invisible in a new direction. Your coworker Danny, good guy, new F-150, watch that costs a mortgage payment, gives you grief in the parking lot about your 11-year-old Honda, the usual friendly grief. When are you going to live a little? And you laugh along, and the whole time there's a number sitting behind your ribs that would quietly end the conversation if it could talk. It can't. You've learned that by now. The one time you gently mentioned index funds at a barbecue, a guy explained to you for 10 minutes why the market was about to crash, has always been about to crash, will forever be about to crash. So you keep the number where it lives, invisible, compounding, unbothered, and you take the grief about the Honda, which runs perfectly, and which is, per mile, the most profitable vehicle in that entire parking lot. Your dad notices, though. That's the one that gets you. 68 years old, a man who worked with his hands and worried about money in a way that shaped the weather of your childhood. And one Sunday, helping him clean the gutters, he asks, out of nowhere, not looking at you, "You doing okay? Money-wise?" And you say, "Yeah, Dad. Actually, yeah. I've got a real cushion now." He nods at the gutter, doesn't ask the number, just says, "Good, that's good," in a voice with about 40 years packed into it. You both keep working. It's the longest conversation about money you've ever had with him, and it's 11 words, and you'll keep it forever. And then, somewhere in the 60s, the strangest stretch, the boring part. Nobody talks about the boring part. The account grows on schedule. The transfers fire on the 2nd of the month. Nothing is hard anymore, and weirdly, that's what's hard. The early miles ran on adrenaline, on proving something. This mile runs on nothing. Some months you don't even check the balance. You'd expect that to feel like drift. It feels, and this takes a while to recognize, like health. The background app is closing. Money is becoming what it is for the people who have it. Quiet. Then one day, for you it's a Thursday in March, you'll remember, the way you remember weather. You log in for some unrelated reason, and the number on the screen starts with a 7 and a 5. $75,240. No confetti. The app does not know what just happened. You sit there in your car, in a parking lot outside a Target, and take an inventory that nobody around you can see. You cannot remember the last time a bill scared you. You slept through the night, every night, this entire year. Your card has not been declined in 4 years. You still remember the last time. Gas station. The cashier's face, which had no expression, which was the expression. When your sister called crying about a bad month 2 weeks ago, your first thought was not, "I can't help." Your first thought was, "How much?" You sent $900 before dinner, and it changed nothing about your life and everything about her month. That's what 75,000 is. It's the first number where the past stops having a vote. Every dollar before it went to fighting history, old debts, old fears, old flinches, the negative space of your 20s. 75,000 is where the flinch, finally, fully dies. You've stopped playing defense. Whatever happens next, and this is the part that matters, you will never again be a person with nothing between him and the weather. But here's the real reason this number changes everything, and it's not psychological. It's arithmetic, and the arithmetic is almost rude. Your first 25,000 took you 4 years. 4 years of packed lunches, of maybe next time, of the ugly early miles. At 75,000, with your contributions plus average market growth, the next 25,000 takes about 20 months. The 25 after that, closer to 15. The staircase you've been climbing has quietly become an escalator, and it accelerates for the rest of your life. There's an old line that the first 100 grand is the hardest money you'll ever make, that after it, the money starts making itself. The line is right about everything except the address. The change doesn't happen at some magic finish line. It happens here, in the mid-70s, in a Target parking lot, when you realize you're no longer pushing the boulder. The boulder is rolling. Your whole job now is to not step in front of it. You drive home. You don't tell anyone, because there's no way to say it that doesn't sound like bragging about a number that isn't even impressive. $75,000. It's a Camry and a half. It's less than 1 year of a surgeon's salary. Nobody is putting it in a headline. And yet, rewind 8 years to the person with $1,142, awake at 2 a.m., running the numbers again with the ceiling. If you could sit on the edge of that bed and tell them one thing, it wouldn't be about the money at all. It would be this: there is a version of you, closer than you think, who goes whole days without thinking about a balance, who says, "I can't Friday," without a stomachache, who sends his sister $900 like it's a text message, who sits in a layoff meeting like it's someone else's weather. The number that builds that person is not 1,000,000. It was never 1,000,000. It's $75,000, saved slowly by somebody who was told the whole time that it wasn't enough to matter. It was the only money that ever mattered. Everything after it is just the boulder, rolling.